Alright, so who's the guy on the cover?
Alright, so, okay, yeah. So the guy on the cover right here, that's the boy. That's the Makuta man.
That's
his mask. Because, and this is kind of bringing this out a little bit early, but I brought this out because last time I said I would take apart the Cardis dragon to make Votar, and I thought about that really hard, and I said, no, fuck that shit. Because, quick shadow, we talked about before about how the lime green joints are the worst fucking thing that LEGO's ever made as far as durability. There is one other piece that actually compares to that, and that is on the set for Vizon and Fenrak, the spider. It comes with these like gray pearl, like dark pearl gray joints that are just like prone to shatter at every instance. And those are on Cardis. In fact, when I got Cardis back in 2006 for Christmas, it comes with 4 of them. I broke every single fucking one of them trying to put it together. And it sat incomplete for the last, let's see, it's 2020, so for the last 14 years. It has sat incomplete until this past summer when I bought some replacement parts to finally actually put it back together. And even then, when I was putting everything together for the Cardis, one of them broke anyway. And I was like, so yeah, I'm not taking apart Cardis, so I was just going to show a picture of Votar from the book here.
Boo!
Yeah, give me money and I'll go buy some other parts and stuff.
Oh yeah, this is a charity.
You can't charge me double tuition.
Yeah, yes.
Does signing your paychecks count?
You don't sign my paychecks though.
Yeah, I know, I'm asking for Tim.
Oh, Tim Compton needs sheep.
He better be, dude.
Hell yeah, dude. So I will be using this. This is a book that comes out a few years later, probably like 2009, 2010. I don't know, what does it say it is? 2009 is what it is. This is essentially Makuta's Guide to the Universe, and this has a whole bunch of good, secret, cool, spoilery stuff in it. But it is also a pretty good catalog piece if you want to look at just like nice infographic pictures of some of the characters or the islands. You get a lot of like the promo shots and stuff. So I'll go ahead and do that more when I get there. But anyway, so picking up where we left off last time. Yes, dude, you're not. It's a terrible design. It's so terrible.
I just
ugly, but he's so cool.
He looks so cool, but he is.
Right?
Huh?
But he's like a fictional creature of myth.
Yes, he is.
Which is good because he can't hold on to his balls.
Okay,
Yeah,
have you guys ever seen a chimera? Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, we're not disagreeing with you. We're just saying that like it is poorly
Objectively.
built. It is poorly built. Chimeras at least are functionally awful. Like Irnak in design is like I have a claws on one but leg joints to hold like 4 Zamor.
It's a bunch of grapes.
A bunch of grapes. This is the man the duck was looking when he went to the lemonade stand. This is the man he was looking for.
Is it seriously not like a fan submitted design?
It's not a fancy design. I swear to you, Irnak is an official Lego. Behind the scenes, they were like, this is the way you make it. This is the one.
What if we made a really ugly Baraka, who's the most OP character ever?
And the other
And
side
then
is
he
his own
disappears.
faces.
Yeah, it's just other faces on the side and a little gun to shoot them. I
Those
don't
are
know.
leftover
I don't know,
faces
it's-
they had in the
I
factory.
don't know, man. I'm just saying, if there was a mythical creature that had like human heads on the side of its weapon.
I'm not saying that you're wrong, because the Skakti as a species are already super fucked up, but look at this! The hand oscillates!
I got all the grapes.
It doesn't turn like this, it's just this!
No,
The
no,
balls.
You jostled the balls out.
no, the balls are going.
Yeah, for the 4th time. That's what we're
Yeah.
talking about.
That's what we're saying.
Jason, it's nice enough to look at, but when you actually hold it, you're like, this is...
It's not a viable toy. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, this is a nightmare. It's opposing it. Like, how? How am I supposed to do this? Okay, so, going back to, picking up where we left off, we are in Bionicle 108, Book 7, Prisoners of the Pit, the stuff we talked about last week. A quick recap, because we've got people who weren't here the last time. Toanika got the Mask of Life. Good. Defeated the Paraka. Good. Dropped the Mask of Life. Bad. Mask of Life flies out, fall, and like horizontally, like it's being propelled by jets, and then goes into the ocean and just boom, just goes straight down. Also bad. Holly tries to go dive and get it. Almost drowns. Pretty bad. Is saved by a Matoran. Good. The Matoran dies. Bad. Find out.
Election cycle.
Yeah.
This is how the lecture is like from now on.
Only from a Tauren. The Tauren gang get the short end of the stick every time. Toa Nuva have to go and do some other thing. They've been freed. They've got to go do some other secret mission, while the Toa and Nika have to go deep down into the ocean to find the Mask of Life, which they do. And there's this giant undersea population that's been living there because part of the island of Voyanui had crumbled and sank into the ocean because it was actually just made on a landmass created by lava flows from the volcano that's always active and it cooled. And they just made a little village on there and eventually over time it just sank. So now there's an undersea village with a giant air bubble around it. And the Tauren can live in it because it's a giant air bubble. They have to go out into these fields, and when they step out of the bubble, they get coated in like a little bubble, and then they have these things called hydrukas, which are like sea scorpions that they use to farm air from airweed. Yes, Zach.
The sea scorpions.
Yes.
Did they make a toy of that?
They did. Unfortunately, I don't have any of them
Excuse me?
Let me. Now it's just a race to see who can ask about it first. Yeah, let me see.
My meme.
Here we go. Yeah, they're really tiny on this page. You're about to have to poke around. But these two at the bottom here, they're little sea scorpion things. You vaguely see their tiny.
They look like tractors.
Yeah, they're like, well, I mean, they're just labor animals.
They're just like those other things from the.
Yeah, they have
every
little
game.
rocky heads. They're just kind of not great. But they get a little shooty ball thing, which is better than a squid launcher. Cause fuck that thing. So they go down there. Also, we traveled back 80,000 years in time to do a flashback about how there's the Bohrok-Kal warlords, and they were going to betray the order of the Brotherhood of Makuta and everything. And then Makuta showed up and was like, "Hey, Lamau, I brought my army here and kicked the shit out of yours, and now you die." Botar shows up, grabs them, and teleports them out. And was like, "LOL, Makuta, get danced on." This Fortnite danced on Makuta because he was like, "I wanted to kill them. They thought they could rule the universe? No, pathetic. But me, I could do it." So Master Life's fallen into the waters of Mari Nui, which is the undersea place, and the Bohrok-Kal have all been mutated to horrible sea folk people like Mantax here, who's missing his little head spinities. Kalma. A bunch of the ones behind me. Karpar, Elik, Mantax, not Mantax, Prydak, and Taxidox. That's his name, Taxidox. He's a piece of shit, I hate him. So I forgot his name. One thing leads to another. So I did forget to mention this. So when Axon just cracks open the ground and is like, "Alright guys, there's a cavern down there, just get in, it'll lead you straight down to Mari Nui where you need to go." I forgot to mention, Vizon, the guy who was with the spider, he actually followed the Toa and Nika down. And he showed up and he was like, "What's up, guys? I'm here for the mask!" And then he got kidnapped by Zai Black. Those weird things I talked about, they had the spheres that could just disintegrate stuff. Yeah, he got kidnapped by them and we just don't see him for a while. But anyway, long story short, the Toa and Nika have now been flung out into the ocean. They've been mutated and now have different looks and designs to them. They can breathe underwater. They don't have any weapons yet. And they met up with the Bohrok-Kal. Holly passed a massive big dick baller bluff check with the Bohrok-Kal when they showed up. And now the Bohrok-Kal believe that they are also prisoners who have been sent there and they're going to help them out. So we talked about picking up where we left off last time. So Matoro is the only one who stayed in the village of Mari Nui. Because they said, "We'll only let one of you here and talk to us to see if you're real Toa, and we'll be able to talk and see whatever else. The other Toa, you need to go and out in the fields and ward off all the other monsters, these horrible sea monsters and stuff." And that's when they got picked up by the Bohrok-Kal. They were talking over there or whatever. So they're all in these different caves. All the Toa eventually use their new mask powers to kind of sneak out of their caves. Holly just uses her ability, her Kanohi Faxon, the Mask of Kindred, to use the ability of some fish that can camouflage itself to make it so she can become camouflaged, and just sneaks out past. Huki uses his massive gravity to make, I think it was a Takea shark that was guarding the little cave he was in, makes it just float up, and he's like, "Okay, I can get out of here now." And the other Toa do as well, and they start to kind of meet up. And as Matoro. So when this is all happening, Matoran comes running back to Marinui. He comes to Deflak, the temporary leader of Marinui, and Matoro's like, guys, this is really bad. I just saw this Toa, and they just went with the Baraki. And Matoro is like, shit. Man, this is already hard to explain. This is already difficult. Like, how are we going to explain this? And Matoro goes, don't worry, guys. I have a great idea that will go help, and throws up a bunch of ice walls and just runs. Because he's not dealing with, he doesn't have time to explain to these Matoran what's actually going on. So he runs out and gets boomeranged and knocked out. When he awakes, he is in a prison cell under the deep, deep ocean waters in what is known as the pit. Where Hydraxon, the jailer of the pit, this boy right here, is like, all right, runner, you've been caught. This is the jail. This is where you stay in the jail. And I've got my Maxilos robot here. Maxilos is specifically just a robot. He is not a robot person. Just entirely mechanical being. And his energy hound Spinax. Yes, Zach, did you have a question?
No.
Okay, you're just making a face. Okay, I see. I get you. Hydraxon moves along, like you know he do.
I was waiting for it. I didn't laugh because it doesn't deserve it.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Besides, we're in 2007 now. 2006 is so last year.
You're such garbage.
I am. I don't know what you expected. You know what to expect from me.
I hate
I'm Trash King Supreme. So Maxilos walks up to the cell, and Matoro is just sitting there. He's trying to think of what he's going to do, how he's going to get out. And Maxilos just opens up the door. And Matoro is just like, all right, well, that was weird. And Maxilos robot goes, hey, what's up, Matoro? And he's like, oh no, that voice, it can't be. He's like, yep, it's me, Makuta. I inhabited the body of this giant robot underwater. Can't get rid of me. He's like Makuta is just like the Rick Sanchez. He's just like, Pickle Rick. He's like, I'm whatever Rick. He's like, yeah, I'm whatever Makuta.
I'm Makuta!
Makuta, yeah! Makuta Los! So he shows up, and he's like, all right, Matoro, here's the deal. Here's the deal. We're gonna work together on this. We're gonna work together. We're gonna get ourselves a mask of life. And you're not gonna tell anyone that you know who I am. And Matoro is like, yeah, no way. I'm gonna defeat. And then he just chain lightning, gravity, magnetism, just smacking Matoro all around the cell. And goes, so once again, we are going to be working together to get this mask of life. And you're not gonna tell anybody you know who I am. And Matoro's like, yeah, okay. So they leave the cell. And they start swimming out into the waters. It's at this time that the Baraki because they have the Mask of Life in their possession. They've decided that they're going to give it to Nocturne. Nocturne is this giant four-armed dude who, just as a refresher, broke an island entirely in half, and that's why he got sent down to the pit. Yes.
Is there a toy of them?
There is a toy of Nocturne, but this is 2007. This is the year that... This is the start of the years where we just did not collect any of the toys that much.
Jason, don't come to school tomorrow.
Oh no! Oh no!
You ain't gotta tell me twice.
But this is Nocturne here. He's like a weird four-armed squid dude thing. Here. There you go. You can see that. It's really.
So you're telling me he broke an island.
Broken
I have
island.
an idea. Let's put him in a pit. Oh yes, he can't get out of there. There's nothing he can do.
Well, the thing is that the mutagenic waters make it so they can't actually exist outside of the water now, because they have gills and stuff.
So we can't get to the top and go pep.
No.
But what about the fact that
Yes.
I presume, considering that everywhere we've been so far has, other than Marinui, has been islands,
Yes.
that like the real world, there is more inhabitable space in the water than there is on land.
Oh, of course, 100%.
So is this not like an upgrade?
Yes and no. I mean, it's mostly barren and just terrible, awful sea monsters.
And then also, you said it mutates them like it did the Toa.
Correct.
that have gills and shit.
Yes.
But how come they look like they just have like breathing tubes?
Because that's the way they fucking designed them. I don't know, man. Like, I'm not a Lego engineer. What's up?
So he's in a pit underwater.
Yeah. So the name of the jail is called the Pit.
It's a jail.
But it is technically it is in the water now. Yes.
So I was gonna say this is a big hole.
It was not
Swim
initially.
out.
It was not initially in the water, but because of the Great Cataclysm, stuff happened and it got broke into the water broke.
But it's not an actual just hole.
But it is not an actual
Okay,
just
that's
hole.
what I was curious about.
But it is
Call
a
it-
deeper. But it is like in a deeper part of a trench, comparatively to like other areas.
They were gonna call it a jail, but that's not Bionicle enough.
That's not Bionicle. Once again, they're like, okay, so here's the art rendition for what Mari Nui looks like. This is the stone cord that connects Mari Nui to Voya Nui. The city of Mari Nui is here, and the pit is somewhere down here. Like it is off this this cliffside. So it is in deeper mutagenic water parts. So I go to Nocturne, and Nocturne is kind of really dumb and like primal in his brain think. Honey baby, are you still fighting? I fucking hate Lamatoran speak. So they go to him, and he is the lieutenant of Elix's army. But they kind of just like leave him alone because nobody wants to fuck with him for the most part. With the exception of Prydak, who fears no man, and is the reason that Nocturne is missing a tentacle because he just fucking ripped it off beforehand. This is not now. So anyway, so they go up to Nocturne. They're like, "Hey, Nocturne, what you doing over there?" He's like, "Playing with teeth." He's just digging in the sand, hanging around. He's like, just grab a crab and
My favorite character.
And so they're like, "Hey, bud, listen, we're gonna give you this mask, this gold shiny mask." He's like, "Shiny gold." And they're like, "Don't go anywhere with it." And you're like, "Okay." So they give him the mask because they want it to be like Nocturne, even though he is the lieutenant of Elik, is generally considered to be like a neutral party between all the Baraki warlords. Because they are all technically a group together, and they are not like the Paraka in which they are willing to betray each other at every single turn. They are all like misery loves company, and they worked together before, and they were punished for their work together before, and they're working towards a common goal. But they still have skirmishes with each other. They're warlords. Like, fighting is what they do. So they give it to him while they can figure out what to do about the Toa. So they start going back. As this happens, Holly is, the Toa, Mari, all make their way, well, they're all looking around as they come out, and they find, like, a cache of weapons and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, this is so cool." So they all start picking up weapons. He gets a fire sword. Matoro gets some ice slicers. Holly gets this slick ass like tri-claw proto steel blade. Quick note on that: proto steel is the hardest and most like strong manufactured substance in the Matoran universe. So a proto steel talons is like fucking nice. Ihuki gets his war spear. And he gets electrified chains because he is, once again, chain gang. Nuparo gets a shield because of reasons. And Kongu, they also find these cool new blasters, these Kodak blasters. We talked about them a bit last time, but I forgot to mention this because everyone picks up one, and Matoro looks at whatever melee weapon he has and throws it away, just picks up two. And they're like, "Matoro, what?" Or they're like, "Kongu, why are you taking two Kodak blasters?" And he's like, "2 hands." 2 hands, blah, blah. He's ready. So they make their way out. They make their way back to Mari Nui, all together. And immediately, the Mari Nui and Matoran are like, "Oh snap, there was the Toa, they were hanging out with Brocky, we're gonna get them." And Devilac's like, "Whoa guys, no, you guys can't come in here, like we're gonna fire on you, you guys are here to, stop us, like who whatever." And Holly is just like, "Hey, Kongu, do me a favor real quick, use some air current and push him out of his bubble into the water with us." And Kongu's like, "Isn't that gonna..." He's like, no, watch, it'll be fine." pushes, Conky throws a wave of air out from behind Devlike, pushes him out of the bubble barrier into the water. Holly starts spinning around him and causing him to go into a whirlpool until he feels like he's going to pass out, and then she just pushes him back into the air bubble, bullies him up a bit. She goes, no, man, listen, if we wanted to kill you, we would just kill you. But we're not here to kill you. We really aren't. We're here to help. We're trying to find this mask. There's important things that we're doing
We're
here.
just gonna hang the fuck out of you.
Yeah, no, it really is. It's just like, remember, kid, like, we could absolutely we could just
We're
trash
just
on you.
here to help
Yeah.
you.
Just let us, why won't you let us help you? So he's like, okay, I believe you.
Okay, I believe you.
And he's like, so what are you guys gonna do? They're like, well, we're gonna go get the mask back. We're gonna go beat up the Bohrok-Kal. And he's so awed. He's like, wow, these Toa are gonna fight for us. Like, we never had any Toa. Like, they don't even want anything from us. That's great. That's great. You guys are now. We'd be honored if you guys took the team of Toa Mari. And they're like, yeah, sure, cool. Toa Mari. Neat little name tag adjustment on there. And they begin to go swim off because they're gonna go fight the Bohrok-Kal. Holly runs into Mantax first. Manta Ray one. And is one other quick thing. I forgot to mention this. Initially, when Jala and Kongu were escaping from where they were, when they were captured by the Bohrok-Kal, some of the squids and stuff were starting to attack them, and Kongu used his, I think it's the Kanoe Zaka, it's the Mask of Summoning, and because they're like, be Aquaman, summon an underwater creature to help us, and summon this like 200-foot long eldritch abomination that had just existed in the water forever and a half. It comes up and just bats everything away, and they're like, wow, I hope we never see that thing again. So anyway, going back, this will come back. So going back to the present, they all start going out. Holly finds Mantax, goes out, and goes to swing at Mantax. Mantax is like, nah, here we go, let's fight. Mantax immediately dives back under the sand, and Holly uses her ability to her Kanoe mask to use the camouflage ability again. So, because they're both basically playing like who's gonna figure out who is where, and she sees these red spikes sticking out of the ground. She's like, it must be his pointy head spikes that he's got on. Pay no attention to Mantax not having pointy head spikes; he'll fall out. And goes and fires a Kordak blaster at the spikes. Nope, nothing. It was just a bunch of rocks. It was a trap. Instead, Mantax is directly at either. Comes up with a claw and like grips around her waist and injects her with poison. Flip over to Nuparu and Huki are Earth Stone. Good combination all the time. Good to have them working together. And they're, because they're trying to, figure out where the Mask of Life is. And all of a sudden, Nuparu is walking around and you're like, man, Huki, this sure is crazy. I wonder if we'll find anything. Huki? There's nowhere to be seen. He's like, oh, that's not good. And then, so he throws up his Mask of Stealth and to make him really, really sneaky quiet. Because the Mask of Stealth just makes it so that other beings cannot hear you or hear your movements. They can still see you. It's not like
Just wanting to move silently instead of
invisibly, yes. And so one thing leads to another. He gets knocked down by some venom eels into a pit with Huki. And above them, they look around in this pit, and there are all these little holes filled on the walls, and there are just boatloads of venom eels all on the sides, and they're like, crap. Swap back over to Jala and Kongu, who are swimming around working together, and they run into a cave where they find, they're like, oh, this must be one of the Bohrok-Kal's places, because they find this is basically the nursery for all the vampiric sea squids that they've been cultivating to use as shooties. And then at that point, Karpar and Kalma, the squid and the crab guy, they show up and they just start, tentacle grab and vampire squid shoot. Oh, also, notably, the reason why Holly is the only one who's alone here is because she just was like, they were all like, okay, guys, let's go as a group. And she said, nah, dudes, I'm 12 water, in the water, super dope mask. Like, I'm going to go on my own. It's cool. Bye. And Jala was like, look, I don't care who's the team leader here, like, but we just need to get everyone to be at least working on something together. Like, somebody needs to be in charge of this stuff. Swap over to Motoro and the Maxilos robot, and they're walking along, and all of a sudden, Prydak, the shark, and Taxidox, the mantis dude, who, as a correction to my statement last time, I said he didn't really have an army of his own, in the same way that all the other Bohrok-Kal did have armies. Taxidox does technically have an army of, like, underwater insects, but doesn't really use them that much. Like, even in the books, we only find out that he has them in a dream sequence that we'll get to in a bit. But he does technically have an army of insects, but mostly just works on hypnotizing Carpar to do stuff for him. And so Prydak can show up in front of Motoro and Maxilos. And Maxilos is like, slash Makuta is like, all right, kid, you're up. Motoro's like, all right, man, you need to let us pass. And Prydak's like, no can do. Yeah, you don't really have much of a choice here. And so all of a sudden summons just a horde of Takea sharks rise up and come around them. And Motoro uses his Kanohi Trina, and he's like, all right, that's how you want to be. Uses his Kanohi Trina, the mask of reanimation, and starts bringing back these carcasses of all these dead sharks and various different underwater sea life, and just and built his own zombie army to float up next to them. And Prydak is like, so it seems we're evenly matched. And Motoro's like, no, we're not. Because only one of our sides has anything left to lose. And just starts kamikazing these zombie sharks into the other sharks, killing these sharks, reanimating them, and it's just quickly becoming like this one-sided battle. It's crazy. Swap back over to Holly, who had been poisoned and starting to get paralyzed by Mantax's claw. She's like, psych! I have another ability with my mask that allows me to use all the different sea creatures' abilities that just makes me immune to poison. Psych! And just guns up Mantax, slashes him, and just BTFOs him. And he's like, oh, whoa, I give. What the hell? What was that? She's like, yeah, mask lets me use a bunch of crazy abilities, any animal I can ever recall. So I'm immune to poison. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to help us get this mask of life, and we're going to work together. Mantax is like, all right, sure. Okay, I guess. I have been defeated. Meanwhile, swap back to the cave where Kongu and Jala are getting, smacked up by Kalma and Karpar. The vampiric sea squid is leeching life out of Kongu and Jala. Jala uses his elemental heat ability to start burning, because he's underwater. He can still use his fire elemental ability, but being underwater, it's a lot more limited. So it's a lot more short range.
He's just boiling shit.
Yeah, so he starts just boiling this squid around his neck and lets go, and he kind of makes his stand and be like, okay, you guys need to back the fuck off. Like, look, we know you guys have a massive life. Like, we can fight back. Like, we've got these Kodak blaster stuff. How's this gonna go? And they go, okay, listen. We will help you get the mask of life on one condition. So they're like, okay, what's this condition? They're like, you kill Prydak. But you kill Prydak, you kill our leader, we'll give you the mask of life. They're like, okay, we'll work with you guys. Swap back over to Huki and Nuparu, who are in this pit filled with a bunch of venom eels, and they're like, all right, how are we going to do this? Huki's like, I've got an idea. And Nuparu's like, I think I got the same idea. I'm like, all right, here we go. Nuparu starts, boom, throwing a bunch of his earth elemental energy to create a pillar of earth up from the pit, and they start rising up. The venom eels start coming out, and Huki just starts just gunning all these venom eels down. He gets knocked over for a second, and then drops. And then Nuparu gets up, guns a few down, drop. Like they're making their way up more, and they're like, oh man, what are we gonna do? We're almost at the top, but this is getting kind of weird. We're just getting kind of dicey, because they're starting to get overwhelmed. And then Huki has this great idea of, oh, it's about to get a lot more fun though. Uses his massive gravity, grabs a shark that's floating above, brings it way down, and the shark starts eating up all these venom eels. And they're like, all right, sayonara, suckers. And they get out of there, and they're like, all right, good, GG. Eolic, the eel warlord, sees that this is happening and sees that a shark has attacked one of his eels, and is now swimming right over to go and attack Prydak, who is still in battle with Motoro and his army of zombie sharks. So Motoro is fighting with his army of zombie sharks that are that are less effective in fighting than the non-dead sharks. And so the tide is starting to turn more into Prydak's favor. And on the horizon, they're like, all right, they're like, Matt, hey, Makut man, listen, like, are you gonna help me out? I thought you said we were going together. He's like, oh no, like, I'll help you when the time is right. He's like, we've got, something else going on. He's like,
The time for helping will
the time
come.
is help. The time for helping will come. He's like, you got to know when to make good decisions and bad decisions. And it seems somebody has just made a very bad decision because on the horizon is Eolic with his swarm of venom eels coming and starts attacking Prydak and his sharks. And Matora and Maximus go, all right, we outie, and they get away. We're going to take a quick moment to take a break in this book. Because this is 2007 is where they start doing online story serials, which are just like weekly installments of a story chapter. They start telling different particular stories. And the one we're going to focus on first is The Many Deaths of Toa Tuyet, which started, I think, if I recall correctly, it was on, so remember how we talked way, way back about how like there was online forum boards and stuff, posting BZ Power forums and stuff. So this was originally commissioned by them. They commissioned Greg Farshey to write a story, put on there, and then this became canon. This is The Many Deaths of Toa Tuyet, which starts 3,500 years ago, back when Toa Lacan, Toa Nadiki, and some other of the Toa living in Metro Nui. This is after the Dark Hunter Toa War. They're in the city of Metro Nui, and they come out onto this, and Toa Lacan walks out onto the street, and there's this huge gathering, there's a huge commotion. Everybody's wandering around. Vaki are, trying to patrol and figure out what's going on, and they step out into Tom Etcher, and there's a Matoran on the ground who has been encased in molten protodermis and has been killed. And they're like, man, this is crazy. Like, of all the things that can happen, like, who would murder a Matoran over here? Like, who would do this? So he's talking to Nadiki about it. And as this is happening, a Toa of Water, who is also local resident to Metro Nui, named Tuyet, walks up and she's like, Lacan, I'm so sorry. I don't know how it happened, but it looks like someone, tampered with one of the protodermis rails or something up above. It was carrying some molten protodermis and killed this Matoran. This is crazy. And there's a stone tablet next to the Matoran. It has like one written on it. And Lacan takes this and talks to Nadiki, and Nadiki's just like, man, like, I don't know, this seems kind of sketchy and weird. Like I don't think any like Matoran and Tuyet was kind of being, I don't know, it was too convenient she was here. Maybe we should go talk to her. So Lacan and Nadiki go to Tuyet's house and they talk to her and he goes, hey, listen, because at the same in that same like a day, the next day, a lay Matoran had been squashed by a vehicle. And with another tablet was too, and like, okay, there's a pattern starting to emerge here. What's going on? So I talked to Toa Tuyet, and she's like, okay, look, I came from my original home island, and there's this artifact that was rumored to be on this island called a Nui Stone. And they're like, what the hell is a Nui Stone? They're like, okay, well, you know how Toa Stones work, right? You're like, yeah. She's like, okay, well, Toa Stone is active in the way that a Nui Stone is passive, in the way that you have to put energy into a Toa Stone to make it. The Nui Stone is like this powerful artifact that gradually just drains energy from all Toa within like a 3,000 mile radius. It just drains their energy very slowly in small increments, so much that they would never notice that their Toa power is actually being removed. And they're like, wow, that sounds like that could be a really crazy powerful artifact. So did you have it on your island? And she's like, no, definitely didn't. Definitely didn't have it. But there were Dark Hunters who thought that it was on my island and that I took it with me when I came to Metro Nui. And so they sent me a message that, they were going to be killing Matoran, for every day that I didn't give them the Nui Stone. They were using this as some kind of sick countdown. And the clan's like, don't worry, sister. We'll take care of this. We're Toa as a team together. We'll defeat these Dark Hunters. We'll figure out what's going on. And Nadiki is like, yeah, that. So they leave, and we cut next to Toa Lacan and Toa Nadiki have bombed into a warehouse, and they're fighting two Dark Hunters. And they are just, I mean, it's very quick fight. They're going back and forth. Lacan starts talking about it. He's like, you know, we know why you're here. We know you're looking for the Nui Stone, but you'll never have it. You know, leave Toa Tuyet out of this. You know, we know that you've been the ones who've been killing Matoran, and that stops today. And when they said this, like, the Dark Hunters were like, killing Matoran, what? Huh? But anyway, and it was a noticeable in both Nadiki and Lacan's fights, they noticed that their opponents both had that same reaction. So after they defeat them, they kind of tie him up, and they're like, all right, Nadiki, we did it. Great job. We defeated the Dark Hunters. Metro Nui is safe. No more of this Nui Stone business. It's all figured out. And Nadiki's like, yeah, man, I don't know about that. I think there's still more going on to this. I think we need to go talk to Toa Tuyet again. And Lacan's like, okay, sure. So they give the Dark Hunters to the Vaki, who transport them off wherever. And they head over into Gametru, where Toa Tuyet is just swimming out into the water, and she's dragging this Matoran back out and flops this dead Matoran onto the island. They're like, oh, what happened? They're like, oh, Toa Lacan, Toa Nadiki, you know, the Dark Hunters, they just came here a minute ago. And they killed another Matoran, and they drowned and crashed her boat and drowned her. And there's another tablet here, and Toa Lacan's like, but that's impossible. Yes.
Blue kind of sus.
Blue is kind of sus right now. Blue do be kind of sus.
Butter off, butter off, butter off, butter off.
Yeah. Nadiki, so Lacan starts in his mind, like the little science equation symbols and everything, and he's like, oh, what, but that can't, and Nadiki's like, yeah, no, that's so crazy. Tuyet, wow, that's wild, you know, I'm so sorry to hear that here, you know, we'll keep a good lookout, and we'll try and find these Dark Hunters. Because by this point, Nadiki and Lacan have kind of figured out that whatever is happening, it is by the hand of Toa Tuyet. So together, at night, yes.
Did they make a toy of the skeezy bitch?
They did not make a toy of the skeezy bitch of Toa Tuyet. Dude, at this point, it's your own fault. You're just not asking questions.
This bitch has killed allegedly 3 Matoran.
Theoretically, no one's actually said yes or no on anything. It's just it's a hypothesis. And you even okay, I see how it is. So, and this you only have yourself to blame.
Okay. Alright, you regret this.
Okay.
Good.
Yes.
It's on camera.
Did they make a toy of any of the 3 Matoran that were killed?
No, Jason, they did not make a toy of any of the 3 Matoran that were killed, but theoretically, you could make them because they were made out of, they presumably had the same body style as the Metro Nui Matoran. Quick note on that real quick, the reason why the Matoran designs changed so much over the years are thus. Original Matoran designs are supposed to look like the ones in Metro Nui, the ones with the disc squeezers. And that when they were put in the pods and they lost all their memories and stuff, their bodies shrunk and became disheveled, which is why they became the yeet disc throwing ones, the Mictoran. And then later on, after the Bohrok strike, the Turaga taught the Matoran how to rebuild themselves, and that's where we got the revamped models that we saw for like the Mask of Light movie era. So I don't think I ever mentioned that. But it was just one thing, like, why do all the Matoran like completely different and everything? As a note on that as well, supposedly the reason why certain Toa will all look like different designs but still be Toa is supposedly when a Matoran becomes a Toa, they form into whatever their idea or what their idealization of what a Toa would look like is. So that's why we get some variety in Toa designs compared to like the Toa Metru or like the Toa Nuva or whatever that. Yes.
Was there a Matoran that just drew a giant pee-pee? That's a Toa.
No.
There are no PPs in the Bionicle.
There are well,
Allegedly, right?
Not at least not for the Matoran that we are aware of. I don't know about the other species, but I'm gonna hazard a guess and say no.
Parakas definitely have PBs.
What do you think that little tail thing is?
Why do you think they're grinning so much?
They shake hands and like, you know.
Zach's hand's like, I can make it bigger because I made of bugs.
It's got that bug peep. Nightmare fuel. Alright, so Lacan and Nadiki, boom, kick down Toa Tuyet's door. Like, hey Toa Tuyet, what you doing here in the dark in your house with no lights on? Trying to make it look like that you're not here. Being a sketchy bitch. And
Emergency meeting.
Yeah, emergency meeting. So Tui Show is like, oh, hey guys, I'm not doing anything. I just like the dark. I just like sitting here in the dark. And they're like, yeah, about that. So what was very interesting is you said that Gomatoran died, and it was only a few minutes before we showed up, right? She's like, yeah, it was the wildest thing. It was so crazy that her ship went out, and the Dark Hunters attacked, and I was only able to go and I tried to save her, but I couldn't. He's like, yeah. So here's the thing, and Lacan just boom smashes his fist over onto the wall, and a whole compartment reveals itself from the stone, and in it is the Nui stone. And she's like, look, guys, we can talk about this.
I'm sorry. How did? I'm sorry. What? How did?
I'm gonna get to this. Okay. Because he's like, yeah, no, we figured you out. So yeah, we know that you had the Nui stone. We put it together because before you did that, we defeated 2 Dark Hunters that were looking for it. And there's no way that it could have been where we had just defeated them, and then they came and killed the Southern Torn. The only other person who knew anything about this was you. So you did bring the Nui stone with you. And she's like, well, okay. Look, guys, I know this looks bad. I know this looks really bad. I mean, how did you even know that I had the Nui stone? And Lacan is like, I'm a tool of fire. I can sense heat. And that thing is radiating hot. I can sense that shit. And she's like, oh, Lacan. That's unfortunate. And just, boom, water waves and goes over, grabs the Nui stone, and starts 2v1ing Lacan and Nadiki, and starts absorbing the power from the Nui stone. She's like, think of it, Lacan. If the one Toa with the power of 1,000, there would be no more need for Vaki. No Dark Hunters would be able to stop us. We would need no Makuta to protect us. We would need nothing. We would be able to just live and dominate and control all the Matoran for ourselves and be able to protect anyone. No one would be able to mess with it. But why are you messing this up, Lacan? And Lacan gets up and he's just so infuriated. And him and Nadiki start just cyclones and a wall of fire, and he's just getting so red hot and knocks the Nadiki tackles onto Tuyet and makes her flail her arm back, and they bump together, and and one thing leads to another, they're on the roof or something. They're both falling, and they're like, which do I go for? Do I grab the Nui stone? Do I grab Toa Tuyet? And Lacan goes, Fire Blast, and destroys the Nui stone, and then goes over, grabs Tuyet. And Nadiki's like, you fool, what are you doing? And Lacan's like, I'm sorry, Nadiki. I just don't want a giant doomsday artifact to be able to be in the city. Do you have a problem with that, Nadiki? And Nadiki's like, no, man, I'm good.
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. A quick note also on that. I forgot to mention this before because it doesn't really make a lot of sense. We talked a lot before during the Dark Hunter Toa War about how Toa Lacan basically showed up, found everybody out, and was like, hey guys, you guys are going to get the fuck out. Or, you guys are going to suffer the consequences. I'll let you guys go, but, you guys have to leave of your own or whatever. I never explained why he actually said that he would let them go. And that was because, I believe it was Thok or Vizalok. I can't remember. One of them was like, hey, listen, my man, Lacan, listen, my man. Instead of killing us all, destroying us and imprisoning us, you should just let us go. Why? Because I got this really cool artifact called a goddamn Makoki stone. Remember that thing that was at a fortress that you were at that you were supposed to protect that got stolen somehow? Yeah, listen, I'll give that back to you. And so Lacan, let his pride kind of take over and was like, end the Dark Hunter Brotherhood? Makoki stone. Destroy this organization completely that has been terrorizing everybody in the universe for God knows how long. I'm sorry, Matanui knows how long. Makoki stone.
But Makoki.
But Makoki stone. And he goes, okay, I want the stone. Which, joke's on him, 6 months later, the Dark Hunters break into Metro Nui and steal it back anyway. And then break it up in 3 parts and sell it to the Brotherhood of Makuta.
Really?
Which is where the Toahaga steal the Makoki stone when they steal the Mask of Life the Mask of Light from the Brotherhood of Makuta. Before they're horribly mutated into the Rahaga. That we talked about, weeks ago. So.
I
Now-
just like to think that whoever like watches his videos like just goes and listens to all these words being said. Like so like Makoti, Makuki, Rahaga, Madaka, Matoki, and everyone's like, what the fuck is going on?
So yeah, that is the end. So after that, Totuya is arrested and she is brought to the Colosseum to be put under the prisons by the Vaki. And the next day, she has gone completely missing. Nobody knows what happened. The guards don't know what happened. She is more or less the Jeffrey Epstein of the Bionicle universe.
Wait, so Taraga Duma suicided her?
You can't suicide someone.
What are you talking about?
Man, if you
would like to know your location.
Taraga Duma would like to know your location.
FBI stay right where you are.
The Vaki be like, stop resisting.
Yeah, pretty much. So, I mean, they do be like that, though. Anyway, what actually happened was your boy Botar showed up again, teleporting Mad Lad, and just picked up Totuya and brought her to the pit. And so she was a prisoner in the pit until some point the Great Cataclysm happened, and the flooding took over, and some say that, unlike most of the other prisoners, she actually tried to stop some of them, but nobody knows. So, this is important, because that is where Maxilos robot / Makuta and Matoro are headed. Because Maxilos / Makuta is like, alright Matoro, listen, you got a really cool fancy mask there. I'm gonna need your help with something. So, takes Matoro to the pit, the actual jail. And they start digging through the rubble. And he's like, what are we looking for, man? He's like, there's used to be this Toa of water. Stupid. Way just not powerful enough, just pathetic, like most Toa are. She got this artifact she stole from the Brotherhood of Makuta. It's called the Nui Stone. It's really powerful. I kind of want it back. So I need you to, he points to like a disheveled mess of like armor on the floor. He's like, I need you to reanimate her. And we're going to get us a Nui Stone. And Matoro is like an abject horror. Because he's already really uncomfortable with the fact that his mask lets him just bring back things from the dead. He's really kind of like not okay as like a, like morally, unlike the alignment chart, he's like lawful good. He's like, I don't feel good about resurrecting.
That makes for a
Dead.
poor necromancer.
Yes, exactly. He's a terrible necromancer. But he's like, oh, I mean... And Makuto's like, no. I don't think you're... I was like, I'm sorry, you must not have heard me. You're going to resurrect this Toa so I can get my Nui Stone. And Matoro's like, okay. And he starts using his ability, and like the armor pieces start floating up and forming into the shape of a body, and like muscle and sinew start reshaping into like this husk of what was once a Toa. He's like, awesome, good. And now we go. So Matoro and Maxilos and the reanimated body of Toa Tuyet start swimming out of the pit. And they're making their way along. And as this happens, the Toahali is making her way back to Mari Nui with Mantax and his army of manta rays. But as she's swimming by, she sees Matoro in the distance. She goes, oh, hey, Matoro. And Maxilos, who's your friend there? And Matoro's like, don't worry about it. Holly, it's fine. Everything's fine. And I'm trying to remember what he said. He said something like, it's just like, he's like, everything is just as great as that time in what he makes like some like allusion to an event that in reality was actually really horrible. But he's been playing it off like it's nothing because she goes, okay, man, well, I mean, if you need help with anything, just let me know. He's like, oh, I will. And they swim off, and Holly's like, wait a second, that was a signal for help.
So you mean you just like saying something like, man, this is as great as Pompeii.
Yeah, pretty much. Motoro was using doublespeak, something an event that only like Holly would really be able to put together. And she's like, wait a second, he's in danger. Well, I guess we're gonna go back to Marinui anyway. So she starts swimming off there. Now, this takes place at the very end of the book, but this is important to bring in because the problem is with the story serials is that you get 3 other story serials all happening at the same time, effectively, that are not in the books. And they are happening like chapter 3 or whatever of Dreams of Destruction happens before chapter 3 of Into the Darkness, but you have to read chapter 4 of Dreams of Darkness to understand what is happening in chapter 4 of Into the Darkness.
Good lord.
So I'm going to explain events as they go, even though they coincide with it. But before I do that, I have to go to the very end of the book, A Prisoner of the Pit, with the Toa Nuva. Because while all of this has been going on, the Toa Nuva have been given a mission by Botar and the members of Order of Matanui. They have to go on a super secret special mission to go and do a bunch of tasks. They have to find a scroll that will give them a list of all the things they need to check off and do before Matanui can awaken. They go off and get teleported back to Metru Nui, to the Great Temple in Metru Nui, where they go, all right, guys, do we have to go in there like this? And they're like, listen, man, nobody can know we're here. They're like, yeah, but we're Toa. We shouldn't have to sneak into the Great Temple. They're like, nobody can know we're here. We have to go. Everybody ready? And so all the Toa Nuva are like, yes. And Toa Liwa, for whatever reason, I don't know why he is the one to do it, uses his Kanohi Kakama, which is the Mask of Speed, which is normally the base mask that Bohatu Nuva uses. But for whatever reason, Liwa Nuva throws that on and makes it so all the other Toa Nuva can use the ability, even though they all also have the same mask they can use together to make them so they can run so fast they can run through walls. Into the Great Temple. And they're digging around at the stone floor, and they're like, are shorts around here? And they're like, yes, Axelon said it would be under some pile of rocks or some stones in here. Pohatu, can you feel anything out there? And Pohatu's like, okay, cool. Pohatu maybe uses some of his abilities to kind of feel the stone in the ground and feel where there's any weaknesses or cracks. He's like, oh, I got something. And raises a rock out of the ground, and inside this hole in the ground, they pull out what seems to be like 2 wooden rods and this white sheet wrapped around it, and they unscroll it, they unravel it, and it's nothing like, it's something that they've never seen before. They've never seen anything like whatever this sheet is before. They have no concept of what it is. And on it is, like, in painted Matoran letters, a bunch of lists. And Pohatu's like, I don't even know what this is. Why couldn't they have written it on perfectly good stone? It's a waste of writing if you ask me. And they're like, I have literally no idea what I'm looking at here. And they look at the first thing they have to do to awaken Matanui, and they all look at it and go, are you fucking kidding me? The first order on this list is to free the Barag Queens and to unleash the Bohrok Swarms. It's the first thing on the list, and they're like, are you fucking with me? And they're like, that's what it's on the list there, that's what it says. I mean, unless it says something different from anybody else, and they're all like, no, this is what I gotta do. Yes, Jason.
So what does the rest of the list say?
We'll get to this. We'll go through the rest of the list. Okay.
But like they can read it all at once, right? Like that's what I would do if I found.
The
Yes.
second thing is Mary Makuda.
Yes. Yes, but they don't reveal to us. But I'll go ahead and reveal a series of different things that are on the list.
Spoilers.
It's about to come up anyway, so it's whatever. The rest of the list, they don't reveal this until like a few chapters later and stuff. Well, they do it in the Toa Nuva blog, which is Toa Gali Nuva has a blog and tells the events of everything that's going on, which is one of the other. Yes.
After finding out this information, may I leave? Because that's gay.
Yeah, well, she's a girl, so it's fine.
Still gay.
It was like the late 2000s.
Everybody had a blog.
It was on
Does she
MySpace
have-
page.
Does Gali have like
She
5 paragraphs before her actual recipe starts?
No, Jason, she does not. But let me tell you, she's got a whole lot of clip art on there. It was like bottom of MySpace. I'll tell you what.
Picture of every transformation.
Talk about a glow up. Yes.
Was her MySpace page song All American Rejects or what?
You know what? Oh, this is actually a good point because in the 2007
I hate that
year,
this is a good point. I
this
just
is in
wanna
the
point that out.
2007 year, we have some new bands getting into this, including Daughtry.
Oh. Lord.
Which they used that one song. I don't know what the fuck it's called. It's like, and I crashed into you, or whatever the fuck that song is. I don't.
Oh, and there goes that.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't know what.
The
I'm
demonetization.
not familiar with that song, but based on your voice, are you sure it wasn't Nickelback?
I'm positive. Because it was that weird period where like Nickelback and Daughtry sound almost the exact fucking same. In like the late
Look at this mask.
So yeah, Daughtry did that, and then from here on, they would use this other band for most of the Bionicle music going forward. Cryoshell is the name of the band, which has like very like Evanescence kind of styling to it.
I thought it was Evanescence.
And you would think so. You hear the song they use for "Creeping in My Soul," the song by them. It sounds yeah.
Chills.
Yeah,
Chills.
I
Is this
know,
like
I know.
This is like a legit band, or is
Yeah,
this
it's a
like
legit
the,
band.
Like
Cryo
the
Show
League
is-
of Legends
Well,
KDA
it was
shit?
before they sold that now.
It was a legit band, but they basically Lego was like, "Hey, you guys are going to do music for Bionicle. When we're going to take your music and do it for Bionicle stuff." And some of it's like really fucking good, but definitely "Creeping in My Soul" feels very much like an Evanescence song. Like
Did they make an album of it?
I don't actually know if they made like a Bionicle.
You mean?
I have actually tried to find a lot of these songs on Spotify to add them to a playlist because I don't know if you like these songs.
Yo, dude, yeah.
What It Takes to Be a Hero.
Yeah, What It Takes to Be Your Hero is good. But that wasn't Cryoshell. That was the band before that. I think it was All Insane Kids. I think is the band that did
Yeah,
that.
I've only been able to
Sorry.
find that one specifically on YouTube. Like, that's
All
what-
insane kids?
Listen, this is the same time period where we had Green Day and My Chemical Romance and all these edgy band names and stuff.
Blood on the dance floor.
This was the time.
Like they just have their own album.
So Cryoshell does that, whatever there. But Daughtry notoriously, like, I remember that commercial like all the time. Like, that sequence too, that commercial they did for it, fucking nice. It's super, super good. Because it's basically just like a 2.5 minute just advertisement of like 3D renders of the characters doing a bunch of stuff, like a mini movie. And you're like, God, this is so fun.
Lego was partially responsible for their formation.
Hey, okay, so yeah. We get there. So the other.
Sorry, I was just thinking about how it's like saying like Simon Cowell is responsible for One Direction.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. In the same way that what is it? Dr. Dre, I guess, is responsible
Lego's
for
got-
Eminem.
Lego's Got Talent.
As if they weren't already ripping off other people
Right.
that have been liking their stuff and taking their ideas to monetize them before anybody. So the other things on the list that the Toa Nuva are going to have to do is Tahu Nuva and Kapaka Nuva are going to need to go down to some southern chain islands in the Victorian universe and quell some volcanoes, make them stop doing volcanic stuff. They need to go find the heart of the Visorak, whatever that is, and they need to grab an item called the Staff of Artaka, wherever that may be. Yes, Jason.
I know they probably don't do this,
Yes.
but could they, in theory, specifically because I'm not sure if this is one of the things. No, they should all know this. I don't think this was the thing that only Tahu did. But could they theoretically go pick up Turaga Vakama in this quest to go? Again, like find the heart of the Visorak because they still listen to him.
Oh my god. It's not the same thing as the heart of Metro Nui, Jason. It's unlike.
I was curious.
Okay.
If like after like 1,000 years they still like he just shows up as a Turaga.
Yeah. No. The Turaga, and they've all just been sitting in Metro Nui. They don't know that the Toa Nuva are back. They don't know anything about the Anika. They literally haven't heard
So they
anything.
still think that the world.
They still think the world is coming to an end. Because as far as they know, that's all that is absolutely still true. The stars are getting dimmer in the sky. There's fewer of them. They feel the world is coming to an end. Yes.
Will the time for their knowing come?
The time for their knowing will come. In fact, I'm gonna get to this. So that's what the first things they have to do. So the Toa Nuva make their way back to Montanui. They find their way back into the lair where they had imprisoned the Barag, and they use their elemental energies to free the Barag that are like, "Huh, what is this? Why have you freed us now?" And the Toa Nuva are like, because even before that, they're like, "Are you sure about this?" Like Pohatu Nuva especially is like, are you sure we should do this? I'm just not okay with this. I'm not okay with, I don't think we should do this. And Onuva's like, nope, we're letting him open because that's what the scroll says to do, and that's what we gotta do. Bohrok, you were awakened prematurely when it wasn't time for you to fulfill your mission, and that's why we had to seal you before. It is now time for you to fulfill your mission and bring forth the Bohrok swarms. And they're like, so it shall be done. And all the Bohrok that had been sealed back in the hives after the Bohrok-Kal incident and everything, all come running out and they start destroying and just wiping Motunui, the island of Motunui, clean. And they're just like, what have we done? So we're going to go ahead and take a break right now. I mean...
At your birthday.
Interesting
Yeah.
time to say that.
You know what? Speaking of that, you know,
Hello, Secret Service.
NSA, I disavow. But I mean, it's interesting. I mean, we're talking about the end of a universe and a series going on. High stakes on both sides. We need to figure out what's going to go. You know, powerful force on all sides coming together, fuck shit up. Nobody knows what's going to happen.
That's not relatable at all.
Not relatable at all to the current time on this November 5th, 6th. I don't know. We'll find out eventually.
2 days after the election.
2 days after the election,
That's
the United
some
States.
stupid people.
All right, so the next thing on the Toa's list of things they have to do is to go down and quell a bunch of volcanoes and stuff and all that. So Tahu and Kobaka do that. Onua and Pohatu go and to this island where they collect this giant jewel that is called the Heart of Vizorak. And it basically, yes, Jason.
I don't mean to derail because I know there's more important things.
Yes.
But you just casually went over the fact that they quell the volcano. How does that go down?
Tahu is the embodiment of fire. Kopaka is the embodiment of ice. So Tahu Nuva was just like, hey, volcano, knock that shit off. And then it stopped being sassy, and Kopaka was like, I don't know, some fucking 80s Arnold Schwarzenegger line
Mr.
about
Freeze,
cooling down.
yeah.
Yeah.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age.
The Ice Age.
Nice
Yeah.
to meet you, volcano.
Ice to meet you. Yeah, pretty much. They just ice caps those bitches. You caps them.
Alright. Jewel.
Give him a blanket.
Yeah. So, they do that. Onua and Pohatu get that. Liwa Nuva just disappears for a while. For reasons.
Did he change sides?
We'll get back to what happened. Fucking traitor! We'll get back to him in a while.
He like read the list and was like, fuck this.
No, on the list, Lewa has to change sides.
Like, we would change teams again. Gali Nuva has to go back onto Motunui to find and record the exact position of the red star, whether it's moving towards or away the island of Motunui. And she goes and uses the great telescope that is built onto the island of Motunui while the Bohrok are ostensibly destroying everything else. And she uses her Akaku Nuva, the mask of telescopic vision, to look into the microscope to get even further. She looks up, she's looking at the red star, and she freaks the fuck out because she goes, what the hell? There's something in that thing. Whatever the red star is, there's something in it, and I saw it. So she's freaked out a little bit. She records position and everything. As this is all going on, remember that portal that, okay, some of you will remember it, some of you might not. Back after Axon and Brutaka had their slash and clash, Brutaka had opened up a portal and just was trying to push Axon into it. Never did. That portal just kind of stayed there. Nobody really knows what happened with that, right? It was just kind of there. Out of the portal, after Axon and Botar had taken away Brutaka, out of the portal stepped out Kraka and the Tatarac, who had been trapped for the last 1,000 years in the zone of darkness. They're like, I don't know where we are, Tatarac.
What do you mean step out? I thought the Tatarac was like a giant monstrosity.
Yeah, and he made a giant-ass portal. So, I don't know. They just walk out of this portal. Like, what the hell?
And they're totally saying
And
that's
they're-
different.
yes.
Friends now?
Huh?
So they're like friends now? Or?
Yeah, they're friends because Kraka is a Rahi. She's the last of her species, but she is a Rahi in the same way that Tatarac is. By the way, the Tatarac, we call it the Tatarac, but Tatarac is a species. A Tatarac, but we refer to him as the Tatarac of Metronui. It was also Kitongu, his species, used to ride those bitches around as mounts. So that was a weird thing.
And it was Botar that sent the Tatarac?
No, it was Brutaka.
Because
Because he has the mask of dimensional gates, and he can open up portals.
Well, Botar also.
Botar can just teleport people. He can't open portals.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Did we talk about this already?
No.
Did me and you talk about this already?
We talked about how the portal, yes. I think we
I
did.
knew.
because we're
Okay,
about to-
I knew this already.
Yeah. So Crockett and the Takarak come out of the portal. Like, I don't know where we're at, but whatever. So they step out and they're walking around on Voya Nui. Crockett's like, man, this place sucks. I'm going back to Metro Nui, and just flies away back to Metro Nui, leaving the Tatarak behind. The Tatarak is just like, fuck this place. Starts rampaging around. Axon is on the island. He's like, we need to stop that thing. And Botar's like, hey man, you know that island of Zaya? The one with the weapons, that makes all the weapons, that got the mountain that eats people and stuff? That one that Rodaka's from? And Axon's like, yeah, sure. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I've been on this island for like 80,000 years, but sure, whatever, man. And Botar's
Where's
like,
the green juice?
Botar's like, yo, fuck those dudes. Teleports the Tatrak onto the Isle of Zaya, where it just starts destroying everything. And Botar's like, fuck those dudes.
I'm trying to remember. Where was it teleported from the island?
So it was originally teleported just from some random island that Brutaka was on. Not on Voya Nui. Because it was before Brutaka became the Guardian one of the Guardians on Voya Nui. Brutaka just was like, hey, well, now I'm bored, and just teleported and just opened a portal.
No explicit.
Yeah, Brutaka just did it because he thought it was funny. He said, it's just a prank, bro.
The camera's right.
He,
Way
over there, dropped a 40-foot long Tatrak into the middle of the most important city in the known universe. Just did it because he thought it was funny. And then Botar has now dropped that same Tatrak onto the island of Zaya, where he is just going ham. And also, if you remember, Zaya is where they brought the Kanohi dragon after Tola Constantine. So they go, oh shit, what is that? And so they, yes,
Chris Tadrak dealt with some bullshit, huh?
Tadrak's dealt with a lot of
He
bullshit,
just came out
man.
of the portal and he gets teleported again.
Yeah, Tatrak just mind his own business, doing Tatrak things in the jungle or a wasteland, I don't know, gets dropped into the middle of Metropolitan City, starts destroying everything, gets shot, falls into a hole deep into the earth, and then manages to claw its way back out, and the whole place is going to hell, and it gets shot, then just dropped back in again, and then later on, there's webs everywhere, and, some shape-shifting bitch comes in and it was like, hey, we're friends now, let's go fight these spider dudes. They know the answer, and they don't want you to know it, and Tatrak was like, no! And then they got trapped in the zone of darkness for 1,000 years.
I really can't be surprised that he's insane.
Yeah. What's up?
Will you sign my petition for Tadrak rights?
Yeah, can we get that petition to pass around the classroom?
Darkness. Within darkness.
Within darkness, yes. So Tatrak is now on Zaya, just destroying everything. The people of Zaya, the Vortex, are like, fuck! What is that? What are we gonna do, guys?
Is the Tatarac's more powerful or larger than the dragon?
They're comparable in size and power. Because what the Vortex do, the Vortices, if you will, is they go, hey, remember that Kanohi dragon we've been keeping underground and trying to figure out how to make a robotic one to make it a giant death war weapon? Release the friggin' thing now and have it fight the other dragon. So now there's a giant dragon fight on this island going on. So, while this is all happening, the Toa Nuva have a thing on their charts they need to check off, which is find the Staff of Artaka. Where is the Staff of Artaka? It's at the Dark Hunter Brotherhood's home base on Odina, I think is the name of the island. Let me just double check that real quick. I want to say it's Odina. Silence, whore. Yeah, it's Odina. I'm pretty sure that it's either Odina or Destral. I can't freaking remember. One of them. One of them. Okay, Destral. No. It's definitely Odina. Odina is the island that is the home base of the Dark Hunter Brotherhood. So the Toa Nuva sneak in from the north, thinking it's going to be the most unguarded part. And the Toa Nuva just take their time with Liu and Nuva, just putting vacuums around people's heads and choking them out as they make their way down into the fortress. So they find their way. They have a map of where they're supposed to be going because they've been teleported there by Botar. And they make their way in and find that the staff is not there. And shit, it's the Shadowed One. It's the Shadowed One, and he's like, oh, hey, what's up, Toa guys? You looking for the staff of Artaka? I don't have that anymore. I don't got that shit anymore. One of our former members, took it, and it is on the island of Zai. And the Toa have just been like steamrolling a bunch of the Dark Hunters on their way through the base as well. So the Shadow One's like, look, I've got a lot going on right now. I don't really have time for you guys. So I'll make you a deal. I let you go. You can do whatever you want. I let you go. You can go to Zaya and get the Staff of Artaka. And you kill Rudaka for me. You just kill Rudaka. That's all I want. I just want that bitch dead. And they all look at each other, and Tahunu was like, yeah, no problem. We'll kill her to death. And then they're like, wait, really? Tahunu was like, yes, we literally have more things that are important than this. We'll absolutely kill her. She's done so much awful stuff. And Shadow One's like, okay, cool, great, we've got a deal then. Great, awesome. All right, you guys take it easy. See ya. And bails. And so then the other Toa Nuva, they leave the base, and they're like, hey, Tahu, why didn't we didn't have any discussion about this or anything? And Tahu Nuva's like, does it really matter? Like, we're not really going to kill Rudaka. Like, who cares? Like, we got other stuff to worry about. Like, fuck the Shadow One. What's he going to do? And Pohatu's like, yeah, man, besides, they don't even have a base anymore. And they're like, what are you talking about? Their entire base is there. He's like, oh, yeah, about that. I left them a little parting gift. Because in about 30 minutes, all the stones in their entire fortress are just going to turn to dust. Toe of stone, guys. And they're like,
He
Jesus
did that on
Christ.
a timer?
Yeah, apparently he can just time delay that shit. I'm assuming what he does is he has it have a increased rate of fracturing or fragmentation. So instead of being weathered away and worn over time, it just increases its likelihood to weaken. He's like, yeah. So I mean, I'm assuming he can just kind of estimate how long it would take to do that.
Start like a vibration.
Yeah, something like. So he's like, yeah, like these stones have weakened them enough that in about 30 minutes or so, all the stones in the entire place will just turn to dust.
So Pohatu Nuva, just so I'm
Yes.
understanding, is completely okay with incurring the wrath of the Dark Hunters by destroying their base.
Who can prove that he did it?
Because they just left. Like,
That doesn't mean anything. You see, remember.
sorry. Okay, let me amend my statement. He's willing to risk incurring the wrath
Yeah, sure.
of all the Dark Hunters, but killing one no lady is
Remember, killing for Toa, killing is bad. Maiming and destroying things is collateral damage. That's fine.
Yeah, but like
You guys will take your hand.
Yes. Tristan can answer.
Brown boys ain't no bitch.
Brown boys ain't no bitch, is what I'm hearing.
it's not that he's a bitch because he doesn't want to kill Rudaka.
No. Well,
That's against
that's
Toa code.
against Toa code. They're principled. They live by a set of ethics. And so anyway, so they're like, Jesus Christ,
But there are
Pohatu.
guidelines when it comes to structures.
Yeah. Once again, like it's collateral damage.
What is the wording on like who they can't kill?
They cannot kill any living beings.
No one.
They killed Rocky.
No, they have not.
What?
They have not.
Rocky
Anytime they
died as a result.
Rocky have
of
died
things
in
that
collateral events, but anytime they fought them, in especially the Machinui Saga, all they did was they would take the infected masks off of them. Or throw them down a chasm. Not directly killing them. It could survive.
Right.
I'm
so
just-
they could just throw Rudaka down a chasm.
Theoretically, if they got into a battle and Rudaka did happen to fall down into a chasm, they would have no guilt as Toa because they did not personally go up and go, "Hyah!"
I think it's based more on the intention.
Yes.
Or their
Whether it's
intention.
premeditated or,
But you can't prove that. Only a Toa can know that in his or her mind.
Yeah, but it's a moral thing. It's not like they're like, oh, how do we get away with doing it? They're just like, yeah, we can't do that.
Yeah, it
Once
goes
again, if
against
we
the
look-
three-
once again, the three virtues,
Yeah,
unity,
virtues.
duty, destiny. But once again, we look back at Toa 2 yet, had no issue killing Matoran, but also renounced being a Toa because she just wanted the Nui Stone to become an all-powerful being.
So what does it say about Tahu then?
Tahu is just like, fuck that dude, I ain't doing shit. He's like, look, I'm a principled leader, I might be a hothead, but I have more important things to deal with. Then he's like, we're not going to kill Rudaka because we have good uses for her. And so, Toa Nuva make their way to the island of Zaya, where all hell is breaking loose, and the Tatrak, 40-foot tall Tatrak and the Kanohi Dragon are locked in a death battle, fighting each other, destroying everything. You remember the giant mountain that eats people and shit that they have to climb? There are chunks just destroyed out of it as collateral damage. And the Toa Nuva show up with the Rahaga, because the Rahaga have decided to come along because they heard that there was a disturbance on Zaya with Rahi, and the Rahaga are Rahi conservationists. Because of them working to stop the Visorak for so long, they agreed to come with. And the Toa Nuva show up and they're like, wow, this shit's crazy. Oh look, a Rudaka, and immediately go and beat her up and capture her. And she's like, all right, guys, I get it. I'm captured. Whatever. You know, it's just whatever. He's like, who even sent you? And they're like, oh, the Shadowed One. And she's like, fuck. She's like, look, guys, I will literally do anything. Like, I will push pistons. I will
suck your dick right now, please.
Right now, I will suck that Bionicle.
Trademark, Bionicle, trademark.
TM,
Bionicles.com.
Donut Steel, OC. And they're like, nah, we got better uses for you. Like these guys. And they point to the Rahaga. And she's like, are you fucking kidding me? And they're like, nah, Tahu, ditch the bitch. We don't fucking need her. We could just like have her ported. We can just grab that Botar dude or whatever. And she's like, nah, you know what? Fuck it. If this is what it takes to help me get out of this shit, fine. Uses a Ratuka spinner and undoes the horrible transformation she did to the Rahaga, which turns them back into their original Toa-Haga forms. They are now Toa again. Hooray!
Yeah.
After like 15,000 years, they're back to being Toa. Yes, Jason.
Did they release toys of them as Toa?
They did release Toa-Haga, Irumi, and Norik originally, but they never did the rest of them.
Now I must wait my time.
I'm trying to I can't remember what the other masks were. I'll get back with you next week because they did reveal actually what their other masks were for the other Rahaga. But anyway, so they go, okay, guys. So we need that staff. Meanwhile, Onua comes flying out of the dirt. He is being propelled out and just boom falls out. He has been completely just beat down. They're like, Onua, what happened? They're like, Makuta. It's Makuta's here. There's a Makuta here. And he's got the staff. And they're like, the what? And this is where we learn that it's very important. Makuta is not a person. Makuta is not an entity. Makuta is a species. There's a species of these dudes.
Jeez.
The main dude we've been dealing with this entire time is just one. Just one dude of this overwhelmingly powerful species. Yes, Jason.
So are they all brothers of Matanui?
The Brotherhood of Makuta serves as like the vanguard of Matanui. Like its foremost like guardian protectors in the universe.
But I thought Makuta.
But Makuta in the lore that is told to the Matoran on Matanui, completely false. Complete lie. What it was, we find out, is that the Turaga of at the time Metronui that become Matanui made up this creation myth based on some of their own creation myths they'd heard before. Because originally, when like 100,000 years ago, Matanui created a pool of antidermis down in one of the giant continents in the Matoran universe, the Southern Island. He created a giant pool of antidermis there, which is where the Makuta came from. And he made 100 Makuta. 100 of these guys. 85 males, 15 females, specifically. They were designed to be in charge of creating all forms of Rahi wildlife and be general like protectors, and that's why they were so overpowered. In fact, after the whole Baraki, this is why we saw that the Makuta that we've been talking about for the longest time, he led the army of the Brotherhood of Makuta against the Baraki warlords, who were trying to betray Matanui. And he defeated them. And then after that, he was like, oh, well, they were so insignificant, they thought they could rule the universe? Ha! But what if I could? I'm a great being. And then about, like 450 years after that, there was an event in Metru Nui known as the Great Disruption. That was basically a Matoran civil war, where there was a dispute between Pomatoran and Tomatoran, and so the Pomatoran started destroying some furnaces and stuff in Tametru, and so Tametru responded by blowing up Pometru warehouses, where Lemetru then came in and sided with the Pomatoran. The Onumatoran sided with Tametru. The Komatoran tried to remain neutral until they eventually sided with the Po and Lematorans, and then the Gamatoran, who also had been trying to remain maintain neutrality, eventually sided with the Ta and Onumatoran, and began a 400-year civil war in Metru Nui that was so devastating that it caused the Great Spirit Motunui to become terribly, terribly ill. At which point, the Brotherhood of Makuta got together and was like, hey, horrible stuff's going on in Metru Nui, what are we gonna do about it? The leader of the Brotherhood of Makuta, named Makuta Miserex, goes, all right, I have my lieutenant here, Makuta Pterodax. Makuta Pterodax, you need to go, was like, we're going to figure out what to do. Go to Metru Nui, see if you solve this out. Makuta Pterodax goes, dope. Goes to Metru Nui, rounds up a bunch of the armies of Matoran, and just chucks them all into the archives and lets a bunch of Rahi loose and shuts the archives. And it was titled as the Archives Massacre, where the Makuta just killed a boatload of Matoran. And said, all right, anybody else want to keep fighting? No? Good. Takes the leaders of, and then the leaders of the Matoran Civil War were all mysteriously teleported away and sent to the pit. Yes, Tristan.
So can we infer that the Makuta Miserex is the Makuta we've been dealing with up to this point?
No, it is not. Chris.
Do all the Makuta look the same?
No, all the Makuta...
Did you make choices? Did they make choices?
They did make choice of more Makuta. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Jason, did you have a question?
I did, but I've forgotten.
Okay, so let me explain this. Because after this happens, the Makuta all go, okay, guys, clearly we can't just let... Yes, Jason.
So what the fuck are the Toad doing around this time?
The Toa are being just inferior beings on just other islands. Once again, the thing with Metru Nui is that Metru Nui just doesn't generally have Toa for the most part because most denizens of the universe recognize Metru Nui as a completely pivotal, important place. Why would anyone want to cause anyone trouble there?
And for
Jason.
that exact same reason, Toa Lacan brought hundreds of Toa, thousands.
In the middle of a Dark Hunter war, to be fair. He summoned a bunch of Toa from other islands in the middle of a Dark Hunter war. The Dark Hunter Toa war.
Why is that any different from the denizens of this metropolis that everyone regards as the center of...
Because I don't know, man. They live in a universe where it's the Matoran. If they follow their goddamn,
does it look like Red Force duty?
Do I look like I have the beard of love decanonization on? The mask? I don't have that mask. But they just follow the damn virtues, unity, duty, and destiny. We don't have to worry about this. That's why they still it into their minds so much. So they generally think, okay, well, if everyone just plays by the frickin' thing, we'll be fine. Well, sometimes they don't. And so, because Makuta Pterodax slaughtered so many Matoran and stopped the Civil War, Makuta Miserex goes, all right, guys, all the Makutas, this is what we're going to do. We're all going to spread out across the entire universe and we're going to designate each of us to be in charge of specific islands. Pterodax, you did such a good job and handled this so swiftly and efficiently, you get to be in charge of protecting Metru Nui. This is why, all the way back in the Metru Nui saga, when Duma is revealed to be Makuta Pterodax, Vokama and Lacan are like, Makuta, you are supposed to protect the Matoran. Because Makuta Pterodax is supposed to be their more or less high being protector.
So
Pterodax is because what happened later on is over time, Makuta Pterodax started developing his plan for universal domination more and more and more, and brought it to a bunch of the other Makuta and went, hey, Miserex, you're doing a terrible job. I'm the leader now. Miserex went, fight me, you bitch. And so they had themselves a good old-fashioned beatdown. Makuta Pterodax won. And then by right of convocation, all the Makuta voted on who would be the leader of the Brotherhood of Makuta. And they voted so hard that every Makuta except for 5 voted for Pterodax to be the leader. At which point, the other 5 that voted against them were promptly and swiftly killed.
So, so it's like what? 9
So that
for
leaves-
Makuta now?
Theoretically, we don't know how many are still alive at this point. There's a possibility some have died here and there, but
Or were killed for dissenting.
5 were killed for dissenting.
I don't want taco night.
Miserex was ordered to be killed, but some of the Makuta actually sequestered Makuta Miserex away and just imprisoned them instead of killing them. So Makuta Miserex is still around, just imprisoned right now. Yes.
Do you know how long that voting process took?
All of like 15 seconds.
Oh man, it's almost like that's how long it should take. Not pointing out anything in particular.
I do wish they could do it the same way.
Yes. So that is how Makuta Pterodax became the being that would become the ruler of the Brotherhood of Makuta. An interesting and important part of this also is that over time, over these tens of thousands of years, what happened to the Makuta is that they evolved. War has evolved. The Makuta have evolved. They are no longer bioorganic beings. They are beings of completely pure energy. Which is why Makuta Pterodax, now that we know, has been able to just have his armor destroyed by a giant stone door and have no tangible difference or damage done to him, be able to inhabit a body of a fake Turaga Duma, be able to inhabit a giant vat and orbs that just mind control people and make Brutaga super swole, as well as inhabit the robot body of Maxilov, because he is a being of pure energy and can just inhabit any mechanical body. Man, that was a lot. Yes.
So how do we kill them?
How do we kill him, boys? How do we kill him? Well, we already know Makuta was worrying before when the vat of antidermis got destroyed. He was like, if I don't find a body to get into in about 3 days, I'm just going to die. I'm going to dissipate. So we do know that there is a time limit that the Makuta have to be in some kind of body. They can't just exist in a nebulous form for too long. So, out of the rubble comes this Makuta named Icarax, who I will have to show you guys next week, because I don't have him here this week. But I go over that next week, because we'll get to see a lot more Makuta. Makuta Icarax is the best hand-to-hand combat specialist of the Brotherhood of Makuta. Comes out with the staff of Artaka and does, Sayonara, Toa bitches. If you want to come find me, I'll be on the island of Karzani. The Toa Nuva travel all the way to Karzani. There you go. To Karzani.
So what if we kissed in Karzani?
What if we kissed in Karzani?
Oh wait a minute! Now there really are Makuta step bros.
Oh my god.
I need a body to get into.
Oh
Step
no!
I hate it.
There are 15 females.
Are the female Makuta blue?
No, not specifically, because they can wear whatever armor they need to. They can take on and shapeshift whatever they need to look like. So
Do the Makuta? You said they're protectors of Rocky.
they create Rocky.
So do they get it on like animals?
It always comes back to these.
I know it comes back to the booby pee-pee talk.
Booby pee-pee. I mean, theoretically, because they can transform themselves to look like pretty much whatever, I mean, I guess there is nothing to say that there are Makuta who could not just make themselves look like giant fucking big booby penis monsters. Yes.
So that Reddit Bionicle that we found.
That's canon.
Was that a Makuta? Is that canon?
It doesn't have to be, but I'm sure there are people who say there is. Sure, why not? I don't fucking know.
There's a coterie of people right now that are just like,
Oh,
the fuck out.
they're like,
yeah.
And then Makuta took his big pee-pee.
No! Listen, no, you don't understand. We'll get to this next week when it actually becomes relevant to the story. But there's, in one of these groups I'm in, there's an admin who is notorious for posting, like, not quite lewd, but just uncomfortable enough. And makes, like, this really kind of, like, yaoi-looking picture of, like, the Toa. It's just, like, it's this nightmare, because it's usually just using
You're gonna
a
be banned
literal
from that
line.
group.
No, listen, it's
They're gonna be like those.
it's a nightmare. It's hilarious, but it's terrible. So, okay, now once again, out of this hellhole, and into a new one. The Toa Nuva arrive on the island of Karzani, where they tell all the Matoran, they're like, hey, what's going on here? They're like, I don't know, man. Karzani, these Matoran showed up one day, and then they left, and then Karzani left, and all the Manus crabs left too. We've just been hanging out around here since then. And the Toa Nuva are like, that's weird. Okay, well, listen, you guys should head to Metro Nui. Get on these cool boats, guys. And they're like, okay. And so all the Matoran from the island of Karzani get on these boats, and they move to Metro Nui. And as they're there, Icarax shows up and is like, sup, bitches! And immediately just shit cans all of the Toa Nuva. Just beats the hell out of them, destroys them. All the Toa are unconscious except for Toa Gali. Gali Nuva gets up with the last of her ability and is like, I will defeat you. And Gali Nuva pulls all of her remaining elemental energy together for a Nova Blast. A Nova Blast is an ability used by Toa in which they absorb and gather as much of their elemental energy as they can and release it all in one giant, effectively atomic bomb. In whatever their element would be.
I thought you were going to say nut.
Well, yeah, sure. One giant wet nut. Like Gali Nuva just came over here and had a Nova nut onto the island of Karzani. She pulls all together and causes a fucking tsunami to just destroy the entire island of Karzani. Destroys it entirely. Yes, Jason.
What are the ramifications on a Toa who does this? Because it sounds like there should be.
Normally, if there are beings on there, it's very bad. But there was nobody on the island, so it's kind of whatever. And they're working under the order of the Brotherhood, under the order of Matanui's sanction. And they basically, once again, they sent Botar to just be like, you don't get to have the Baraki, I take them, bye!
No, I mean like does this drain her physically at all?
Yeah, 100%. Causes her to go unconscious too. All the Toa are just floating on wreckage of what was once the Isle of Karzani. Until they eventually rouse themselves, and Icarax has disappeared as well. This will lead us back to the books, because while all that was all happening while a bunch of this stuff was happening. So Matoro and the Maxilla and Makuta or Pterodax, we'll start calling him Pterodax. Makuta and Terry, and Scary Terry, and the undead corpse of Toa Tuyet are floating through the water, and all of a sudden, Karzani appears with a whole bunch of Manus crabs. And, yes, Jason.
Does Karzani have the ability to breathe underwater?
No, he has been mutated as well. And so, because he just went into the water because he's fucking nuts. And he has been mutated as well. Scary, yes, that was it.
Also,
Yes.
they didn't make his toy mutated Karzani.
They did make
but I already knew!
He knew, he was asking about it. And so Karzani shows up and is like, hey, you must be that. You got it, hey, you know that. Oh, let's go, yay! And they're all just like, what the fuck is going on? I can't get back to me. I'm too fast. And he's got a bunch of Manus crabs, and they're like, what the fuck is going on? And so, Maxilos robot is like, hey man, you need to get out of here. I'm gonna destroy whatever. And Karzani goes, oh yeah? Well, what if I showed you a future where I destroy you instead? And goes into Pterodax's mind and shows him an alternate future where he completely fails and he doesn't get to take over the universe. And the Matoran succeed and Machanui is brought back to life and he's saved and all his plans have been planning for like the last 80,000 years for nothing. And Makuta is like screaming. He's like, ah!
So now Karzani knows.
So now Karzani knows who this is and is like, yeah. How does that feel? And Makuta Pterodax just kind of like inhales. That was a neat little trick you got there. Let me show you how it's done. And reaches into Karzani's mind and just mentally shreds him. Just throws so much just psychic destruction into Karzani's mind, it makes him unravel. And he is just completely, because then he's like, yeah, well, I've got army of Manus crabs and they'll destroy you. And Pterodax is like, oh, cool. There's a cool power being a Makuta. One of my 42 powers, Rahi control, and makes the Manus crabs turn on each other. And so his entire army of Manus crabs are just devouring and destroying each other. It's just horrible carnage. And Matoro's like, what the And Makuta Pterodactyl is like, isn't that cool? I was like, no, it's savage. And so Karzani runs away and goes to hide in the cave. He hides in a cave. And he just can't deal with what's going on. He just tries to leave. So they continue on swimming through the waters because coming in from above is Makuta Ikarat, and he's got the Staff of Artaka. Whatever the Staff of Artaka is. And he goes to the Maximus robot and Motoro and the floating corpse of Toa-Tuyet and goes, all right, boss, here's the staff. You can have this now. And Scary Terry in the robot body of Maxie goes, thanks, dude. Takes the staff and he's like, all right, Motoro. See, here's the thing. When the Nui Stone actually was destroyed by Lacan, shards of it were embedded into the armor of Toa-Tuyet. So I can use this staff to recreate the full stone out of these shards. Check this out. Puts the staff to Toa-Tuyet's armor and starts glowing, and these pieces of the Nui Stone start coming out and forming together, and all of a sudden, Brutaka shows up again! Brutaka, after being taken away by a giant squid underwater, has also been mutated by the water because he escaped. He's now got a giant dorsal fin and some spikes, yes.
Ocean Brutaka toy.
No, unfortunately, no. It is one of the greatest mistakes. Why did we not get Ocean Brutaka? We got Axon, we got Hydraxon, we got Brutaka, why no Hydro Brutaka? That's all I'm saying. And so Brutaka shows up, knocks away the stone, destroys it, grabs the staff, and goes, Botar! And Botar teleports in, grabs the staff, teleports out. And Makuta is like, oh! He's like, are you kidding me? Yeah.
So I thought Brutaka was like denounced. But...
Yes, Brutaka was denounced entirely, but while he was in the pit, he came to realize that maybe he had been a little bit of a shitheel. Maybe he had kind of strayed away from bats, and maybe it was this getting beaten up a lot was a good chance for him to reflect on his actions and go, you know what?
Character development.
I just care. Maybe I should do what I can.
Do colored glasses.
I mean, maybe. So
the ultimate Kyle. I'm here to ruin your moment.
I'm swimming in an ocean of Mountain Dew. And comes up and was like, what's up, Scary Terry? And he's like, oh, you're not gonna like that, and tries to go and invade Brutaka's mind. But I think of the Order of Matanui, they've learned and been trained to shield their mind from psychic attacks. He's like, not gonna work on me, bud. Energy bolt, and he's like, fuck. As this is all happening, Motoro is like, yeah, I'm fucking out of here, dude, and just bails. So Motoro just fucking leaves. He's gone. He's whatever. But Brutaka shows back up, and starts fighting with Makuta, and they're just locked in this sick clash. They're fighting each other, and they're having a good time. And Brutaka is like, I don't even care if I die. He's like, I just won't let you win. And they're fighting there, and then he's like, thanks to you, I've lost. The one thing that staff is so important. How dare you'll pay for this? And he's like, bring it on, dude. But the more we fight, somebody's gonna get that mask of life. Say like Hydraxon, who's probably gonna destroy it, and Makuta goes, the what? And he can sense in the distance that Hydraxon is coming closer to wherever the mask of life is. That's not good. And Maxie Terry is I wish his name was like Patrick or something, because then he could be Maxie Pat or some shit. I don't know.
What happened to other guy who handed staff to Dan?
Makuta
Icarax? He flew off to go do other stuff.
He's like, I'm done being blind.
Well, he can't go under the water. He doesn't have the ability to breathe.
That's what I was about to ask. How did he get the staff to...
Did swim up enough and was like, here you go. Here you go.
So he didn't go down to the mutated water?
No, he did not. They went up a little bit. Anyway, so... Gone. Dunzo. Motoro is gone and is trying to meet up with the other... Toa Mari, because even before that, at one point they meet up with. So one thing leads to another. Scary Terry leaves. He's like, I'll deal with you later. And Brataka's like, I'll be here. I'll be waiting. Come on, man. He's like, I drank the Makuta juice before. I ain't scared of it. And so the Toa Mari all meet up together, and they find out that because eventually Maxilos / Pterodax catches up to Matoro, and kind of with the other Toa, they meet up and they're like, what are we gonna do when we get the Mask of Life? And he's like, you're gonna have to destroy that stone cord, right? Mari Nui is going to have to be destroyed. And they're like, dude, if we destroy the Mari Nui, it's gonna kill all the Matoran there. He's like, what's a Matoran for the sake of the universe? But anyway, so pretty much.
Matoran, man.
Yeah, poor Matoran, man. So Scary Terry is running off to go fight Hydraxin, presumably, because he doesn't trust that he will do well. And as far as anyone else is concerned, he is still just a robot. Nobody else knows that Pterodax is in the body of this robot. They just presume he's a robot. So he is joined up with Hydraxin to just be a robot guard. So that's more or less the end of Book 7, Prisoners of the Pit. And we covered many depths of Toa 2 yet, almost the entirety of Toa Nuva Blog, some parts of Dreams of Destruction and Into Darkness. Into Darkness mostly just covers all the events of Matoro and Maxilos, / Pterodax, doing all the stuff with the staff of Artaka and fighting Brutaka and all that stuff. So we pretty much covered all of that. Dreams of Destruction, however, is also taking place kind of simultaneously. So if you remember a while back, when Prydak, way back in Book 6, had captured some of those Matoran underwater and was trying to interrogate them on where they would find the Mask of Life, he threw one of the Matoran just out into the waters and was like, who's next? That Matoran's name was Sarda. Sarda is floating through the water, and he's running out of air, and suddenly feels like he's going to drown and passes out. Along comes another Toa who is just riding on this sea sled, sees the red figure, and picks him up. Sarda awakens in a cave to find that Toa is a Toa of air who has also been under the ocean for a while, and his name is Lesvik. Toa Lesvik. He's like, oh, you're Toa Lesvik! And he's like, huh, Toa, haven't been called that in a while. But yeah, it's me, Lesvik. Toa Lesvik is one of the first members of the first Toa team ever.
So there's a toy of him?
Yeah, there is a toy of him. I forgot to dig it out, but I'll dig it out later.
What's wrong with you people?
I was feeling left out.
Let's see, it's in the book here, it should be.
To defend my birthright.
So first Toa team ever, so we can assume he's like
He is.
Yeah.
Toa Lesvik is almost 100,000 years old.
I thought there were more strict biological limits on the Toa.
No.
Other species.
Not particularly.
Okay.
Because they're predominantly mechanical beings. Like, they do have...
You said like the shadowed one is like 100,000 years old.
The Shadowed One is probably around like 80,000 years old or some shit like that, yeah. No, he's at least 90,000 because of stuff with lore. He's at least 90,000 years old. But...
And then he also got aged on top of that.
Yes. He did.
And you said by just a few thousand years.
Yes. But once again, there's... Nobody... For the most part, nobody really seems to know what the average just natural life expectancy is. Because most things just die because of violence. Toa Lesvik is like he was part of the first Toa team ever. And they were known as the Toa Kordak. Unfortunately for him, on one of their missions, they ran into a group of Zygalak. And he hesitated for only a moment. And in that moment of his hesitation, Zygalak, it just disintegrated all the other members of his team. He's the only one who survived. Completely killed the rest of their team. And from then on, just went around completely lost and hopeless, trying to go around fighting and helping Matoran here and there, winning some battles, losing most of them. And somehow has found his way down here and rescued Sarda, because after that mission, he returned home to his island and found out that the Turaga there had gone fucking insane and shipped off all of the Matoran on that island to Karzani. And then when Lezovic would go to Karzani to try and find the Matoran, would continuously get beat the hell out by the Manus crabs and Karzani, and never managed to win. And it would just keep going back over and over time, until eventually he stopped, thinking that all his Matoran friends that were just gone. Yes, Jason.
So you said he was part of the first or one of the first?
Part of the first.
So how are there Turaga?
Part of the first known Toa team.
My question was in the how are there Turaga, because you said the life cycle is Matoran, Toa, Turaga.
Are you telling me Greg Farshey didn't write any loopholes in this brilliant series, Jason?
You're the one who knows like the lore and shit.
Okay.
There's been a reason.
Okay. For reference, while there is a Toa Turaga Matoran life cycle, Toa and like all beings can just be artificially created. Like there is a natural cycle, and there is also just a creation cycle where they can just create them if they have the right things right.
Destiny.
We'll get to some of this a little bit later, because it does involve the Toa Mata a lot. And so he goes, "Oh, hey, it's Sarda." He's like, "Elizabeth, we thought you died." He's like, "Yeah, when I came back, you guys were gone and all this stuff." He just wandered around. He's like, "Well, listen, there's a lot we can do down here to try and help. We need to go save my friends." And so Sarda and Lezovic swim out into the waters, and they find, as they're looking around for this cave that might have Idris or some of the other Matoran that he was with, manages to come across Karzani. And Lezovic also, as a note, he does not use the moniker Toa anymore. He does not consider himself to be a Toa. He is absolutely out here for revenge against Karzani. He is here to kill Karzani. He has no issue or qualm with it because he has renounced the title of Toa. Because as far as he's concerned, like, Karzani is his mortal enemy, and he's caused so much strife and suffering. Because by the time he actually did eventually find his way into Karzani and make his way in, even after being beaten up, he found out that all the Matoran that should have been there were no longer there. They'd been shipped off to Void anyway. Because once again, when Karzani would just fix Matoran, he just did a piss poor job, and he's like, "Nobody can see my terrible works." It would send them off to this horrible island. So
Misfit toys.
So
Exactly.
that's why they're all fucked up?
yeah, that's why they're all fucked up, because Karzani's job was to repair damaged or broken Matoran.
Why do that?
But he just did such a shit job. That's why all of like the Voyanui Matoran
Okay.
and the
Was that
Marianui Matoran.
explained already?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
they just look so deformed. And that's why he was like, "Well, I messed you guys up, but I'll give you guys some weapons. How about that? Here's a shiny little toy. Here's a shiny stabby snap. Have that. That's fine. You'll be fine.
It's fine. It's
You'll be
good.
fine.
It's
fine.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's fine.
You'll
It's
be okay."
They freak a little.
Flip
Yeah.
Brushes them under the rug, under the fridge.
More or less. So, at this time, though, Lezovic has been contacted by a member of the Order of Montanari that if they capture Karzani in a trap, someone will be there to collect him. And Lezovic kind of agrees to this. Sarda also he's like, "I'm coming with you." And Lezovic's like, "No, you can't come with me." Sarda's like, "No, these are my Matoran friends in here. We're all in danger as long as Karzani's here. I'm coming with him." Lezovic's like, "All right, sure." So they go, and additionally, there is another Matoran who they managed to bump into, named Idris, who had also was at Gal Matoran, and she has also become mutated by the mutagenic waters. And they've got a list of trap materials and stuff they're going to use to capture Karzani. Lezovic bursts into the cave. Karzani goes, mind crush. And suddenly Lezovic he's back with his team of Toa. He's back with his original team of Toa in the middle of a battle, and they're fighting a bunch of things, and they're winning, and everything's great and wonderful, and he lives this life of just hundreds of thousands of years of dynamic struggles and fights, and they meet Toa Lacan, and they're doing all these great things, and then and Lezovic is constantly, he's just thinking like something's scratching at the back of his mind, like something's just not right. Something just doesn't make sense, but he's living this fantasy of being this hero that he always had wanted to be with all his Toa team members. They all survived, and so eventually they're talking about it. It's like, all right, he's like, all right, Lezovic, we got a next mission we need to go to. Apparently there's a bunch of Cyglac hiding out in these ruins over here, and Lezovic stops and goes, Zyglak. And they're like, yeah, Zyglak, what about him? He's like, Zyglak is what killed our Toa team. And they're like, Elizabeth, what are you talking about? We're all here. We're all here. He's like, you're not real. And watches as this whole perfect fantasy world that he's been living in for who knows how long just fades away, and he's back in reality. In front of Karzani, and he is just so enraged and throws himself into it, just starts fighting Karzani and just laying it on him, and eventually just pushes him into this trap that Sarda and Idris have set up. And Botar shows up, is like, good job, guys, takes Karzani and teleports away.
Yeah! Boats!
Botar! He just shows up, he's like, I take credit for all wins. Yes, Jason.
I guess you've already explained what they are, but please refresh my memory on what a Zyglak is.
Zyglak are a horrible mutated species of hellspawn, essentially, that are, okay, this gets into a little bit of the, a little bit of fuckery, but the Balrog can create Krana, right? They can create things that make the Bohrok work and stuff. Early on, when the Brotherhood of Makuta was making Krana, the Zyglak were created as an after product of it. So they created like this species of
Just fucking answer
Krana,
their question.
and yes, Tristan had it first.
Fuck you.
There is a combiner model you can make of Zyglak. I believe it's made out of Prydak, the Shark Dude, Karapar, and I believe...
Jesus, and he fucking looks
yeah.
like a pterodactyl without
Yeah.
wings and has like that squiggly tail.
Yeah, they're awful. And they're basically just like God's forgotten children. And they're generally scorned and feared by everyone, so they just hate all Matoran. They hate anyone who basically aren't outcasts. And they just live in a bunch of ruins. And they carry a bunch of weapons, and mostly staffs of disintegration. So yes. And so Idris goes, so they're like, all right, well, we did it, guys. And they're like, all right, it's been fun. Good to see Idris and Sarda again. It's great seeing you guys, but I got to keep going. And Idris goes, I understand. My home is back where Maria Nui is. I hope we'll see you again someday. But they're like, oh, but you've been mutated now. You can't breathe the water or whatever. They find like an apparatus in this cave that's eventually like an air scuba mask. And then he fits it up onto Idris and goes, now you can go do your thing. And Idris goes away, and Sarda's like, well, what are you going to do, Lesvik? And Lesvik's like, I guess we keep roaming and doing good where we can. And Sarda's like, cool, I'll come with you. And he's like, he's like, well, you need a companion, and I don't want to go back. So, okay. And that's the end of pretty much the tale of Toa Lesvik and Dreams of Destruction. Which means we can finally get to Book 8, Downfall, where the book starts with a pseudo-eulogy from Toa Hali, who is talking to Kopiki in Metro New. Kopiki is a Komatoran, and who is now the new chronicler, and is talking about how even 3 days ago, nobody thought things would have gone the way they did. And that Jala had always said, like, being a Toa is not just about, great feats, and, winning every battle, saving the day, but it is also about sacrifice. Just nobody knew how soon that would have to come. And we scoot back 3 days in time to where the Toa Mari have gone up to the, before this, Toa Hali, Nocturne, okay, this is the sequence. Nocturne, who still has the Mask of Life, is like, of this Mask of Life, but I don't like masks. But why do I have this? I don't even know what to do. Who gave this to me? I don't know. Prydak gave it to me? I hate him. What if I threw away mask? That would make him look like dumb. But Prydak took Tentacle. I don't want to happen again. And picks up the mask again, and and then also, like, as he's doing this, he kind of tosses it off the side of it. The mask covers a tiny little creature called a Gadanka, which is normally like this little like puffball thing. It's got a lot of teeth, but it's just not really strong. The Mask of Life sends some energy. Yes, Chris.
Did they?
They did! They really did! It was leads us to one of the greatest phrases in any of the commercials. Holy Dunka! Which eventually I'll show you guys, but I'll show you a picture of it here because I never got Gadunka. Gadunka. So
Best.
he picks up best toy. Picks up the Master Life again, keeps walking on. Meanwhile, all of a sudden, boomerang knife comes out of nowhere. It's Hydraxon. Come on there. Stop right there, runner. And Nocturne's like, what? Hydraxon? You're dead. You can't. And he's like, what? No, I can't be dead. I'm right here. And Nocturne's like, no, Taxidox killed you, and the whole prison broke and everything. And all of a sudden, like, Hydraxon starts having this, like, once again, he is just a Matoran that has been mutated by the Mask of Life to be a replica of the original guard, with all of his memories, with his own original Matoran memories suppressed, and no recollection of his death because the PTSD would, I guess, be too traumatic or whatever. And he's like, nope, I'm not falling for your tricks. And so immediately starts getting into a fight with Nocturne, just starts throwing out wrist blades and getting into grapple locks and just, boom, beats up Nocturne. He's on the ground, and he notices the Mask of Life. The Mask of Life is there, and he's like, what have we here, boys? This mask is too dangerous. And lines up to have his Kordak blaster at it, and is about ready to fire on it. And then swap, boom, all of a sudden we're back. And the Toamari are sitting around the cord, and they go, okay guys, what are we gonna do? It's like, well, we need to go and talk to the Mari Nui Matoran. And they explain to them, look guys, listen, Mari Nui is gonna get destroyed. The best thing for us to do is we'll guide you up the stone cord, back up to the original island of Voyanui. And they retell, like, basically all the events that have happened up to this point, how they ended up in the first place. And Defalak is like, I don't ever recall any Toa. I don't recall any Turaga. I don't know about anybody who's ever cared about us down here and why we should do this. But the one thing I do know is that we have no business fucking living down here. So sure, we'll go along with this. And the Toa Mari begin to escort the Voyanui Matoran up through the stone cord. That is still kind of pseudo underwater because it was destroyed a little bit earlier by the giant Venomale. And as they're making their way through, they're like trying to spy and see if there's any of the Zyglak that were there from before. But they're like, this is weird. I don't see them anywhere. And as they get further and further up, they suddenly see a lot of Zyglak corpses just floating around. They're like, what the hell did this? And all of a sudden, the Baraka show up again. But they've been horribly mutated, because remember when they fell down the shafts and everything, and they got into the weird creepy water back on Voyanui where they're trying to get the Mask of Life, it finally took its effects, and now they are essentially just a head and like a snake body.
Wait.
Yeah.
Wait, like scary sperm?
Like scary sperm. They're basically like big scary sperm. Fucking.
I don't even want to know if they made a toy.
So they're swimming around through water.
Limbs or anything?
They don't have any limbs, but they have all their original abilities. They have all their eye beam vision stuff still, and they're like, what the fuck is that? And they're like,
the egg.
and the
So
Baraka
they're
are
like Nagas.
yes, no, they're not like Nagas at all, because Nagas have a torso.
I was just saying, Naga have.
Nagas have torsos.
Do they not?
Like, yeah, centaurs are like half horse, half people. Nagas are like half
Maybe
people,
they
half
just
snake.
D&D Nagas specifically then.
Maybe, but these
They're
are.
literally just like heads with snaky bodies.
I guess it depends on how you certify things like as sphinxes too, because some depiction of sphinxes have like a human upper torso with like the quadruped's legs, but some also have it where it's literally just a quadruped animal with just a human face.
I only believe it if it was in Yu-Gi-Oh!
You know what? Fair.
I played Parakaspur!
Parakaspur! The Parakaspur show up, all of a sudden, attacking them. They're like, what the hell? So they start, trying to fight them. One of Zaktan, they're like, this is all your fault. You should have just let us have the Mask of Life, and then we wouldn't be like this. And so all the Parakas start, trying to fight them, and Zaktan wraps around Idris, the Gamatorn from earlier, and is like, all right, Toa, don't move, or I'll snap her neck. And they're like, Jalo looks at Idris. Idris looks at Jalo. Jalo looks at Zaktan. Zaktan looks at everyone. And Idris just, God, Electro Staff zaps the shit out of Zaktan. And he's like, what the hell? There's a Matoran! And causes a giant explosion out of nowhere. Just boom, white light, everyone, bodies flying everywhere, in the water. The Toa awake. All the Matoran are gone. The Paraka are also gone. And up at the top is @ sign. We'll take a quick break here. Can we do another? No? Okay.
You got stuff to do in the morning.
Okay, gotcha. All right, that'll be it for this week. We'll catch up next time. Good.